Request Ms. Ira Singhal to talk on this.
4.5 lakhs.
4.5 lakhs of youngsters appeared and she came out number one.
Thank you, sir.
Not only that, fought against a lot of obstacles and all that. She will talk. We have spoken to you earlier. Now please hear from her.
Good evening, everybody. I feel like a fraud with all these people who've achieved so much. For me, my achievements will start from this moment because passing this exam is more about getting to a stage where you can actually perform and where you can actually deliver something for the society, and that is the only thing that I was looking for. The one thing that went differently in my case from most people was that my family from the first day itself never allowed me any sort of self-pity or any sort of special advantages. So, while as a child that would be very frustrating, it didn't work out so in the long run, and I was never allowed to pity myself or never allowed to, make any excuses or get out of doing something.
Her parents are here. Please, right?
Yes. By extremely cruel people. Extremely cruel people. So I would get bashed up for every little thing. Yes, that's been my life. I was never compared with anybody else. In fact, the strange thing was, so in my house, we were all asked to perform to the best of our abilities. And the problem was that you could not decide the best of your ability. Your parents decided that, right? So I couldn't ever decide my boundaries, and I could never say, okay, I can just do this much. That was never the case. And I lived in a joint family, and so I think from the first moment that I was a part of that family, I got acceptance for whoever I was. And in fact, I was not the one who was compared to other people. The other people in my house were compared to me, and they were the ones who were found lacking. So that was excellent. Like, I got to rule everybody. And I think one other thing that went differently was that I was never made to focus on myself. So my whole life has been externally focused, so it has not been about me at all. So I never had time to think about what was wrong in my life or what was missing or what, curse the Lord and say, okay, I have not been given all this. I just didn't have the opportunity or was encouraged or had the time. I was always asked to look outside of me, look into the world and see what I could contribute. So I remember when I was, I think in class 3 or something, 91, there was an earthquake in Uttarkashi, and I went and gave all my savings to that. And I was an 8-year-old or something, so whatever money I had, I went and gave that. And that wasn't just because I thought it like that. My family was the one who had encouraged us always to look outside of ourselves. So it was never about taking something from the society or, battling demons for yourself. It was about battling demons for the society and battling demons outside. And, they made us conscientious human beings more than anything else. And that was, I think, precisely the reason that I anyway wanted to get into the services. I remember I was very, very little when I wanted to be either an IAS or an IFS officer or a doctor, because these were the only ways I could see serving this country and serving people. And ma'am, I actually remember stories about you as a kid. I was told about you and how you were doing amazing things, and you were definitely one of my inspirations, and you still are. Thanks, ma'am. I mean, that's not anything that was actually the case. I remember I was very, very little when I heard that whole story about the car and everything. So, So, I think these were the few things that went differently in my life. That, it was never, I was never made to feel that there was anything wrong with me. They told me that, okay, these are the problems that you have, but that doesn't excuse you from anything. So you have to be on the same platform as everybody else. You have to do the same things as everybody else. In fact, I was made to, I think I've learned more things in those years than most people would have. I went to dance classes, I went to painting classes. I'm a terrible painter, but my parents kept trying. Maybe something will work out someday. Never happened. But yeah, so I was made to experiment with everything. I remember we baked our first cake when we were, so there were three of us in the house, a 9-year-old, an 8-year-old, and a 7-year-old, and we baked a cake because that was the freedom given to us in my family. We were all encouraged to do whatever you wanted. And go out in the world and explore things. And there were never any boundaries, and nobody ever told us there's something wrong with you. And I think because my family never believed that, the world didn't ever have the guts to come out and tell me there was something wrong with me. So, that I realize that most of us who have physical disabilities which are visible get looked differently from all corners of the world. And in fact, if you walk down the street, everybody turns around and looks at you. And that happens to all of us. I learned very early on that it's just curiosity. I mean, I would look at somebody different, right? If there's an elephant walking down my street, I would look. So I realized early on that it was nothing negative or anything. You just have to turn around and, I realized that if you smile back at people, they smile back at you. And see, if anybody sees something different, they obviously get curious, and because you're so different looking, they might get a little scared. So it's upon you to make them feel comfortable, right? So that's what I've been doing all my life. I turn around and I smile at people and I talk to them and I try to make them feel normal and show them that look, there's nothing different. My brain works exactly the way yours does. So right, and that's basically been my life. So to me, honestly, coming here in the services and getting a rank isn't an achievement. I can't really see what is different about this because I didn't think I was different. So I don't see why this should be an achievement for anybody. I mean, I've been lucky in having the parents that I did and the families that I did and the friend circle that I did. And I realize a lot of people are not, and that's hopefully what most of us here are looking to change, and hopefully we can. And that's mainly, I really don't see my achievement in getting a rank. The way I see it, everybody can. It's just a lot of hard work and a lot of slogging and a lot of going through the same material again and again. For me, I hope I will have my achievements from this day forward, and when I join the services, I can make the difference that I'm here to do. And that's my story. I don't really have any specific instances that have, I've not, there has been discrimination. It would be incorrect to say that it hasn't happened. For example, when the court case thing happened, in fact, the strangest thing was I got a lot of acceptance when I was in the private sector. I have never had a problem with any interviews or getting a job in the private sector. But I wanted to serve my country, so I quit that and I came into the government. And that's for the first time when I faced discrimination. In fact, we're supposed to be an inclusive society and inclusive government. But strangely, the government was the one which was dividing people. So the case was mainly that they've divided people into certain kinds of disabilities, and they've decided that certain people will be allowed only in certain specific roles and not the others. So they're putting people on basis whatever the decision is into different streams, and according to them, I am only allowed in IAS and not any other service. So not a group B, group C, group D service, just that one service which apparently is the topmost service. So that was the strangest part. So either you're the topper or you're nothing for the government. And that was the first time I actually realized that there is discrimination. There is physical discrimination happening. And I did not initially want to file the lawsuit because I had gotten this in my first attempt. And I thought, I have attempts left, let me just try again. But I started getting phone calls from people across the country who had been discriminated against. And they did not have the financial resources for it. They did not have the financial resources to go to the court, to fight, to get their justice. And that was the reason I filed the lawsuit. And unfortunately, my lawsuit gave me a role, but hasn't really done much for them. So that's the agenda right now, that hopefully I can work with the government and get other people the due jobs that they deserve, So that's something that I'm working on. And Thank you so much. That's pretty much the story as my end. I'm really honored to be here, and some of the stories here, I don't think if I were in most other people's shoes, I would have achieved half as much. My fight hasn't been with my disability, while most of the people here have had to do that. So my fight has just been, well, the acceptance in the society. So I'm really honored to be here, and thank you so much.